What a win for Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. They sweep the Atlanta Falcons, and this was an amazing game for Carolina. They win this matchup 30-27. And before we go in depth with this game, I want to fill you guys in with some information if you are a Carolina Panthers fan. When you look at the NFC South division, the Buccaneers, they lost today against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. They're now 6-4. In second place, the Carolina Panthers are 6-5. You control your own destiny. And it is a tough remaining schedule for Carolina. But if Bryce Young can play the way that he played today, it's going to be tough to beat the Carolina Panthers moving forward. Your next game is against the 49ers on the road. Primetime game Monday night. Then you face the Los Angeles Rams at home. You face the Saints on the road. That's going to be a revenge game for Carolina, possibly, because you lost to the Saints last week 17-7. Then you face the Buccaneers at home, the Seahawks at home, and then you face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road. Not an easy schedule, but some winnable games there for Carolina. The next week's game against the 49ers, they don't have pass rush. And when you don't put a lot of pressure on Bryce Young, he can make you pay. But I've had a lot of negative things to say about Bryce Young from the beginning of last season. Even last week when they lost against the Saints 17-7. Bryce did not play well. But I will give him credit in today's game against the Atlanta Falcons. On the offensive end, he was the reason why they won this matchup. He was unbelievable. This was the best game of his career. I know that he had the games last year against Kansas City, against the Philadelphia Eagles. His rookie season, he had a very good game against the Green Bay Packers. But this game, from the first all the way to the fourth quarter, Bryce Young was amazing. And he had to exit this game early on, dealing with an injury. Now, he suffered an ankle injury against the New York Jets a couple weeks ago. He missed the game against the Buffalo Bills. That's when Andy Dalton had to play. But Bryce Young goes down with this injury, comes back into the lineup late in the fourth quarter. He hurts his knee. And you could tell from inside the pocket, he wasn't the same. But he stepped back inside the pocket. He made dart throw after dart throw. He was perfect across the middle of the field in this game, throwing to Tedero McMillan on the outside with Xavier Legette. Bryce Young had 448 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he got sacked 5 times. If he can play like this every week moving forward, or just even 80% like this moving forward, it is going to be hard to defeat the Carolina Panthers. The run game was pretty much non-existent for Carolina. When it was 3rd and 1, of course, they ran the football. They went to Chuba Hubbard in the receiving game. But Rico, 19 carries, 45 rushing yards, 2.4 yards a carry. Now, he did have a big play late in the game. The referee said that he stepped out of bounds. In my opinion, I didn't think that he stepped out of bounds, but it is what it is. I believe there was just a little bit of green right there. But when he put the foot up, the referees came out and they said, yeah, it was part of the white. I don't agree with that, but you still won this game. But they made Rico and Chuba Hubbard a non-factor on the ground. And Bryce Young, he couldn't move around at all. He didn't even have rushing yards. He had -1 rushing yards in this game. It came down to his arm. Staying inside the pocket, taking those hits, and being decisive with the football. This is what the Carolina Panthers wanted to see with Bryce Young when they selected him with the first overall pick out of Alabama. And I'm not saying that he's going to go out there and do this every single week, but this was a phenomenal game. And you barely worked off a play action in this matchup. It was just straight reads with Bryce Young, looking off safeties, throwing guys open. Had a beautiful throw in the back of the red zone to Xavier Legette, who had 4 catches, 83 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. He's dealt with injuries this season to his hamstring. Has dropped a lot of passes from last season and this season as well. So to see him step up in this matchup was huge. But the biggest player on the offensive side of the ball, outside of Bryce Young, is Tedero McMillan. I have said this every single week since week 3. He's a superstar. He is phenomenal. He may not put up the flashy plays like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, but he's a big physical wide receiver that is a major downhill threat. When he gets the ball in his hands, it's hard to tackle him. And they're starting to put him more inside the slot over the last 4 to 5 weeks. I love to see that with Tedoroa McMillan. That is what they did at Arizona. The first couple weeks, primarily an outside wide receiver, especially against the New York Jets. They put him in the slot every now and then, but it was very rare. They had him in one-on-one situations with Sauce Gardner. If you have a cornerback that's lanky and athletic, just like Tedoroa McMillan, put him inside the slot. Give him some extra yards to play around with. Let him be a huge deep threat down the field to split those safeties in between. And he's a fast wide receiver. I know that we don't view wide receivers that are built like Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans to be speed threats. I'm not saying that he's Tyreek Hill fast. I'm not saying that he's going to go out there and run a 4.4 every single week. But don't sleep on him and his speed. He can get on top of cornerbacks. And this is the one thing with Tedoroa McMillan. You can't teach this. He is so physical at the line of scrimmage. And he is so massive that a 50-50 ball is really 90-10. Depends on where the ball placement is. And at today's game for Bryce Young, the ball placement was on the money. The Atlanta Falcons, they couldn't stop him. 2 receiving touchdowns, 130 receiving yards on 8 catches. That will get it done. Rico did have a big play, 5 catches, 55 receiving yards. The one play that I'm talking about that went for 28 yards, that's the play where I say he did not step out of bounds, but the referees thought otherwise. So they ruled it out of bounds. You still scored off that drive anyway. Tommy Tremble, he comes in. That one catch in overtime for 54 yards, pushed him to field goal range. The offensive line could have been better. But let's not forget this. I know Carolina Panther fans, they hate the Atlanta Falcons. It's a division rivalry. The Atlanta Falcons had the best passing defense entering this matchup today. And Bryce Young diced them up every single drive on a hurt knee and a hurt ankle. I will love to see him perform like this moving forward, because now you have a complete offense with your offensive line, which is still a very good offensive line, even though they did allow 5 sacks in today's game. But at the same time, Bryce Young could not move around. So he's a stationary target. But the offensive line is still in a good spot. I know that they're dealing with injuries at the guard position, but you still have good players in Ickey, Damian Lewis, Cade Mays, and Taylor Moton at the right tackle position. But you have this run game. And if Bryce Young can prove every single week that he can just throw the football deep down the field just 3 to 4 times a game, it opens up that run game now with Rico and the same with Chuba Hubbard, and you can work off a play action. But they never gave up. They were down 21-7 in this game. Bijan Robinson is killing them in the first half. And there was a lot of Carolina Panther fans that went out and they showed up to this game. And you can see them in the front row. They're shaking their heads. They're saying, oh, man, here we go again. It's a replay of last week of what happened against the Saints. We're letting these splash plays happen all over again. Last week it was splash plays to Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson. Now it's Bijan Robinson. And give Evero a lot of credit. He made a lot of adjustments at halftime. Michael Penix Jr. did go down with a knee injury. He wasn't able to return. But Kirk Cousins came in. He gave them some solid moments. But I love the way that the defensive coordinator went out there and he attacked Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was the starting quarterback for the majority of last season for a reason. But he kept those guys together on the defensive side of the ball. In the second half, they went away from Bijan Robinson, and the same with Tyler Algier. Kirk Cousins was 6 of 14, 48 passing yards. Drake London killing them in the first half. 7 catches, 119 receiving yards. In the second half, very quiet. You found a way to make Kyle Pitts a non-factor in the second half, and the same with Darnell Mooney for majority of the game. Had to give the defense a lot of love here. When you're down 21-7, your defense has to come away with some stops. They have to come up. They have to be clutch. And that's what they did in the second half. It wasn't perfect, but you still won this game. And I have to give Dan Morgan a lot of credit as well. The talent wasn't the best last season with the Carolina Panthers on the defensive end. You couldn't stop the run. If this was last year's defense, they would have lost this game. But you have guys like Tershawn Wharton, A'Shawn Robinson, Derek Brown going out there and making big-time plays. Just stopping the run, and now they can pin their ears back and they can get to the quarterback. Trayvon Mooring was the best player in the secondary today in terms of tackling and in coverage as well. Christian Roseboom, Once again, continues to be a very good player. Over the last 4 weeks, he's been very good, has been very solid. The first 3 weeks of the season, a lot of people that are calling for his job. He has played better. Not saying that he's a great linebacker, but he's filling in that role very nicely inside the middle linebacker position. My one thing that I will say about the Carolina Panthers is this. The defensive line play needs to be better in terms of putting pressure on the quarterback. And in terms of bringing the quarterback down, you had 0 sacks in today's game. And we all know that Derek Brown, very good football player, one of the best defensive linemen in the game. He's tremendous against stopping the run and getting to the quarterback. But he's more so of an interior defensive lineman. When you look at someone like Tershawn Ward, had some sacks last year with Kansas City. He can get to the quarterback, but it's not consistent. Princely, he's a rookie. Same with Nick Scorchrin. They need more out of those players on a consistent basis. I know that you can possibly scheme up pressure, but that is hard to do. You don't want to just send in a bunch of blitzes constantly. Then the quarterback, he gets used to the same diet. Now he's killing you. You send in a nickel blitz every now and then. Someone like Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix Jr., they'll recognize the nickel cornerback is coming up a lot in these formations. Let's just throw the football there. So it's not ideal to go out there and just blitz your players constantly and put pressure on them. What is ideal is to have a rookie like Lathan Ransom who can come in and match him in with Trayvon Mooring and have them over the top, and they can just cancel out those deep plays. And Lathan Ransom has been a very good player this season. They allowed a lot of passing yards to tight ends. For the first 3 games, they've allocated more snaps to Lathan Ransom. You see, the tight ends haven't killed them as much. But this was a very good win for the Carolina Panthers. This was the game for Bryce Young. With how he played last week, and let's just be real here, Bryce Young has had some bad moments this season, but he's had some good moments as well. Look at what he was able to do against the Dallas Cowboys, against the Miami Dolphins. And look, I get it. Bad defenses, bad teams. You can't help who you play, but you can help how you go out there and you can control the way that you play against said competition. So I'm not going to hold that against Bryce Young. Well, he went against bad teams. He still performed well. And they needed him to perform well against the Miami Dolphins and the same against the Dallas Cowboys. But against the best passing defense in the NFL, for him to have 448 passing yards, that's a great sign. And to have 0 interceptions and 3 passing touchdowns. And this is a player last week that looked confused at the line of scrimmage, was late on a bunch of passes with those in cuts and those out routes. And this is one thing I also want to bring up. Dave Canales, he's a damn good coach. If the Carolina Panthers, they don't make the playoffs, they have some ugly losses for the rest of the year, I still believe that this man is a very good head coach. Even last week when they lost, I did not call out Dave Canales. He can have some questionable play calling every now and then, sure. But when was the last time the Carolina Panthers had this many good moments in the season? It wasn't with Frank Reich. It wasn't with Matt Rule. You could say it was with Ron Rivera. Back in 2015, went to the Super Bowl with Cam Newton. But this has been the most fun season for the Carolina Panthers. I'm rooting for Carolina. I want to see them go to the NFL playoffs this season. This fan base has been through a lot. And you look at Tampa Bay, they're dealing with injuries right now. They're still a very good team. But Carolina matches up pretty well on paper. Even dating back to last season, the one thing with Baker Mayfield, he has struggled against his defense in the past. So if you can capitalize off those opportunities with Baker Mayfield, you can put that pressure on him, you can stop the run. Let's not forget Mike Evans, he's out for the rest of the season. Chris Godwin, we don't know when he'll be back. Maybe later this month, early next month. I'm recording this in November. Maybe he comes back in December, end of November. We'll see. But it's important for the Carolina Panthers to go out there, stay on schedule, stick to that run game, work off of play action, Whitley, Gett, and Tedoroa McMillan. And a lot of teams are going to go back, they're going to look at this footage with the Atlanta Falcons, and they're going to say, okay, look, Bryce Young can make those throws down the field. Let's make him throw up the seams. And he's done that as well in the past too, tight ends, and the same with wide receivers in year 1 and in year 2. But this game right here for Bryce Young, this could be a huge turning point in his career. Like how it was last year when he had that game against Kansas City. He never looked back. Every single game after that, he got better. And I'm hoping that's the case with Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. And you have J.C. Horn. I want to give him a lot of love as well. One of the best cornerbacks in the game. We always hear about Patrick Surtain, Derek Stingley Jr. Now you're starting to hear about other cornerbacks like Christian Gonzalez get put into that conversation. J.C. Horn has been Mr. Consistent since his rookie season. I know that he's dealt with injuries, but this year, he's been locked down. Even last year, look at what he did against the New York Jets. Made Justin Fields' life a living hell, and the same with Tyrod Taylor. He put so much pressure on those wide receivers. And even last week, he had a bad play against Chris Olave. Chris Olave pushed him down. It should have been offensive pass interference, but it wasn't. And I've seen them put J.C. Horn on tight ends in the past. So he's a complete player to have in the secondary. Now you have Trayvon Moring and Lathan Ransom when he's fully healthy. I know he's dealing with a hand injury right now, but when he's fully healthy, you don't need him to watch over those tight ends. Primarily, you put him in one-on-one situations with their best wide receiver. May the best man win. And it's a good chance that J.C. Horn is going to win that matchup. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about the Carolina Panthers? And do you give them a true shot to win the NFC South this season? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys to stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.